Like I'm on the Emmy stage and you're like looking out at the entire audience. The thought that I had was, man, I used to see this on TV.
Right.
Now I'm actually seeing this with my eyes. Like I was to the point, bro, I was so determined to finish the show and was pulling so much out of my pocket and I left a job to do it where I just didn't have food. Like
Welcome everyone to episode 5 of 1000 Failures. I'm your host, Darius Marcelin, and today we are halfway through the season. If you haven't been listening to this podcast so far, and this is your first one, you probably are wondering, what country is this guy from? So, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I have an accent, so yeah, turn up the volume a little bit if you don't understand some of the words. My guest today is James Bland, and he is a writer, producer, and actor. Yeah, he does it. He does it all, and his story, and I could bet you to his story is gonna change your life and your perspective of things. Once you listen to this with an open heart and an open mind. James wrote and starred in his hit series Giants, which got 11 nominees at the Daytime Emmy Awards this past weekend. Man, James is definitely a giant, and the story you're gonna hear is about a creative just like you and me, and he wrote his story and a little something about his life, and to see that he won and got nominated for so many Daytime Emmys is absolutely amazing. I met James on set of a movie we were shooting together about a month ago. And we kept in touch, on some sets, you just meet people and you click. So we met, we exchanged numbers, we hung out a couple times, we went to a premiere. And when I asked James to come on this set, little did I know how much he accomplished and his story and his legacy. Yeah. So today's subtitle, Leave Your Legacy, goes out to James Bland. And this is true to all of us, no matter who we are, where we are in this world, what our jobs are. What is your legacy? What are you going to leave back for everyone else coming up right behind you? The industry that we're in, the creative industry, the entrepreneurship industry, people are in it to be famous or just have a lot of money. And yes, having a good standard of living is good and being comfortable is very good. But in the blink of an eye, you could lose your fame. In a blink of an eye, you could lose all your money. But what could never change is your legacy. What you did and what you left on this earth could never change. The reason why I started this podcast was because I wanted to leave my legacy. I wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted to inspire people. I'm being honest with you. After 2 years of debating and being scared and vulnerable, I said my purpose was bigger than my fears. This means I didn't care in 2019. I didn't care anymore of my fears of what people will think of me, if people will understand me, if people would even like my podcast. I cared more if that one young actor coming to Los Angeles, not knowing anyone or anything of the industry, could learn something and save himself some money and could be inspired to continue going after his dreams. I cared more that anyone coming up behind me, family, friends, acquaintances, anyone coming up behind me could say, Darius risked it all to go after his dreams. That someone from this small town where I came from in Trinidad could look up and said, if he could do it, I could do it too. And I had heroes and I had inspirations of people to look up to when I was a kid growing up on TV. But it becomes more real when it's somebody you could see yourself as. So this was my legacy. What is your legacy? What if you left today, people could look back and said, man, she did it like this, or he did it like this, or I'll follow in his footsteps, her footsteps. What did you leave behind? If your legacy is to be your own boss or do something that you love, or to have a great quality of life, Show people the universe. Show people your skills, your talent. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Snapchat, we have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have everything that we have. And we have all gifts. Show everyone, give it to the universe. Put it out there. Leave your legacy. Everything could be taken away from us, but that would always be there. That your kids can look at one day, your grandkids can look at one day and say that, wow, he did it like this, she did it like this. Now, don't get me wrong. Leaving a great legacy or leaving your legacy it's going to take hard work. It's going to take effort. Your dreams are going to take a lot of effort. The bigger your dreams, the bigger your goals, it's going to take a lot more effort. What will your legacy be? Your legacy could simply mean you never gave up. You had the fight in you, the drive in you. You put your talents out there. You put it with effort, heart, and soul. Never give up, persistence. And I promise you, you will leave a legacy and people will see it. As artists, we go out there. As entrepreneurs, we go out there. We put our boots on and we go into that arena and we fight every single day. And most times it's in front of an empty arena. But I tell you this, you keep fighting, do what you're doing with your heart and your soul, and your purpose is bigger than yourself, people are going to start coming into that arena to watch you. And as I go on this journey with you, and I'm striving, I'm an artist, striving for greatness, and we're on this journey together, I am telling you, this is an example of people coming into the arena to watch. So continue going out there and putting up your fight and leaving your legacy. And in this podcast, James talks about him coming to Los Angeles from his small town, having nothing, no money to pay rent sometimes. And in his first 6 months, he got shot in his face. To almost a week and a half ago, he got nominated, his show got nominated for 11 Emmy Awards. And James is just like me, he's just like us, a gladiator in the arena, and people are just starting to come in to watch him. He's leaving his legacy. What would be your legacy when it's all said and done? James, are you ready for this, bro? Let's do it.
Oh man, so I'm a writer, actor, director, producer. I like to say just all around filmmaker, and I'm multi-hyphenate. I'm from Florida. I went to Florida A&M University. I studied business, and so I'm not one of the artists or actors in LA who went to a conservatory, or I'm not that kid who was doing plays when he was 4 years old. Even though I always had an interest in the arts. I did used to do plays, but it was through church growing up. And I was a poet. I was the kid that my mom would buy me a set of like one of those coloring pencil sets with like 50 different colors. So I've always been a creative my entire life, but it wasn't until I got to college that I discovered filmmaking. And although I was studying business, I started auditioning for some student films that led me on some sets, and I got bit by the bug, and I said, you know what, if I'm gonna do something for a career, day to day, 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 or whatever, I want it to be something that I really enjoy and love. And so I made the decision that, I'm gonna move to LA and pursue film. And so I moved here in 2008. Yeah. And so it's been a decade, a whole ass decade. Yeah.
So before you decided to move to Los Angeles, what in your mind was thinking, I'm gonna ship everything and leave it to go to some place? Did you know people out in LA?
I did not, bro. I had never been here. Had never been to LA. I didn't have any friends or family. But it was like, all right, what else? I was finishing school, and it's this expectation to go on to something. It's like, you graduate from college, what's next? You're either going to grad school, you're going to get a job, or what? You going to go back home?
Right.
And I'm from a small town in Florida, and I was not going back to Titusville, Florida.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, you know, I'm gonna just go to LA, I'm gonna take a leap of faith. And I just always kind of knew that whatever I set my mind to, that I would find success. And then I always had the favor of God, you know, covering me.
Right.
My mom used to tell me, you know, favor ain't fair. Like she's always say that to me when different things would happen in my life. And, you know, God's hand was always on me. And so I knew that if he led me to the water, he would not let me drown.
Right. For me, when I came to LA, I visited LA. I kind of knew what it was. I was feeling it out.
And you came from New York, right?
I came from New York,
Okay.
but my biggest jump, I would say, was just coming to New York from Trinidad, in the Caribbean, because I didn't even have a winter jacket. You know, I didn't even know New York was cold.
What?
Right? I had no idea. I just knew. All I knew was New York Knicks.
Bro, how did you survive?
No, I mean,
from the Caribbean
that's what's cold.
to cold as New York City.
Right.
Ooh, that's torture.
I had no idea. You know, I was going there to play soccer, and I just wanted something to entertain, basically.
Yeah. I didn't know you were a soccer player.
Or something like there that I wanted to do. So that's how I ended up there, and that was like a jump, a culture shock for me. And then moving to LA was more of a risk, taking a big risk, because from then, that's all good.
My legs are long.
From then, I had businesses behind. So, you know, like Trinidad, I left with nothing. I had no fear. Like, you have nothing to lose, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like leaving college too is like, I mean, you just don't want to go back home, you know?
Yeah,
But
a little bit. Because, you know, I moved to LA without a car, without any money in the bank. I just had my ambition and this dream. It's funny, like when I first moved here, I remember, you know, I would meet folks, and they would say, so, you know, what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, I'm an actor. I just moved to LA. And they'll be like, yeah, you just moved here. But I could tell because you still have this optimism, you know, in your eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, does that, you know, go away? And they're like, yeah, you know, you stay out here for a certain amount of years, you get jaded, you know. I guess because everybody moves here with these dreams, and you think that, you know, I'm gonna get here and I'm gonna get discovered. I used to be walking to the bus stop thinking somebody's gonna discover me. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna see me walking and say, I like the way that guy walks.
Right.
I'm gonna put you in a movie. And you just come with these sometimes gullible and naive ideologies about what it takes. And I remember someone telling me that it takes 10 years to be successful, you know, in the city. And a few of my friends who I eventually connected with that I didn't know when I first got here, but we connected through our Florida connection and realized that we all had went to college in Tallahassee. We used to tell each other it's not going to take us 10 years. That's not going to be my story.
Right.
And one day I looked up and I had been here 10 years and I felt like my career was just starting. And so I do realize it's like if you read this book from Malcolm Gladwell, it's called Outliers, and he talks about to be an expert, you know, at anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours. And you just got to continue to put in those hours, and, you know, hours are time.
Yeah.
And a decade is around, you know, your 10,000 hours of just working and working and working at a thing. And then once you put enough time in, you start to kind of perfect, you know, your craft in a way where you start to see new levels of success.
Right, and there's that thing I texted you yesterday, you know, and you were talking about.
That was a word.
Yeah, that was a word, man. And
Yeah.
I was talking about, this is how I feel. I feel the level of greatness that you dream and you close your eyes with, the more experiences you have to encounter, the more challenges you have to encounter, because in order for you to be great, you have a lot of responsibility, and you have to learn different aspects, whether it be relationships, whether it be, and this is all entails of every actor that's out there. You gotta learn how to deal with relationships. You have relationships with a spouse or whatever, and relationships with friends, relationships with people you go to a meeting with. How do you conduct yourself? You have to have discipline. You have to fail because you were indisciplined. You know, you have to be prepared as an actor. You have to have the right training. You know, you have to go to auditions and be like, I have to learn every time. And that level of greatness, and if you settle for something that's cool, it doesn't take that much to get there. take you a year or two and you could have a job in an office as an assistant or something. That doesn't take that much time. But if you have those big dreams where you can't sleep at night and you see it in the daytime and you leave your house in Tallahassee and wherever in Florida and you move across here because you have that dream, I feel like you have to develop so much experience points, and that's what most people probably evaluate to 10 years, you know?
Yeah. I agree. No, I wholeheartedly agree, man. It's like, it's interesting because I was just thinking about what keeps you up at night. And when a dream is burning in your gut,
Right.
it keeps you up, you know? And it is a journey. And the thing that I tell any new actor, you know, moving to the city, when folks ask you, what advice would you give me, is be committed to the marathon because it's a journey. And the folks who stick it out are typically the folks who find success.
Right.
The folks who move here thinking that it's gonna happen overnight are the ones who get impatient and they eventually move away or give up or they start to do something else, because after a while you will begin to wonder, is this for me? You know, am I supposed to do this? In particular, once you find yourself here for 5 years and you still haven't necessarily gotten to that place that you thought you would be by this time, because we all put this timeline on our success. And for example, with me, I used to write down every single audition that I went on, and for 2 years I auditioned without booking a thing. I can't remember the number of auditions I had went on, but I was beginning to feel like if I've been doing this for 2 years consistently, like audition after audition, week after week, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing something else, because surely if this was for me, then the universe would be, you know, moving things in my favor. But sometimes I feel like the universe, God, is questioning how bad do you want it? Like, do you really want this? And what are you willing to sacrifice? And can you wait and not grow tired of waiting? Because most folks are just impatient and they're also in it for the wrong reasons, right? Or for superficial reasons. They're not in it for the craft and for the love of the art. Folks want to be famous, folks want to be on television, folks want the lifestyle that they see that comes along with being an actor or a successful director, producer, you know, in the city. They want to drive the cars and go to the parties and all of those things, walk the red carpets. But the folks who really love the art and the folks who have to do this because this is their form of self-expression, you know, this is their form of therapy. You count the small victories in ways where you realize, okay, I may not be doing a blockbuster film, but that indie film that I did, you know, really fed me.
Right.
And for me, you know, I created my own show. I created Giants. We were on YouTube.
Yes.
And I said, look, God, I want to be a writer. I want to be a director. I want to be an actor. And so he empowered me and he gave me everything, all of the resources that I needed to go and make my own show. And granted, I wasn't on a big network. I didn't have the big budget. I wasn't making a dime from doing it, but I had to look up and say, oh my God, I am living the dream. Like, this was the dream.
Right,
and
so
once I was able to be faithful in
Yeah.
that and really grateful in that, that's when other things started to turn up. That's when the red carpets and the agents and the managers and all of those things came. But I got to a place of being extremely grateful in what he had given me and realized that my intentions were in the right place, that my intention is to create from a very honest place and to create art that ultimately has the ability to inspire, you know, and impact the lives of people. And because my intentions got aligned, then the universe began to move, you know, in my favor.
All right, and I want to pull right back up because you came here, and when you came to LA, did you have that thinking that you would write and create, or was that a culmination of just being in LA, being in a creative environment? And I know that you always have that burning up
Yeah.
inside of you. You have that
Always.
inside of you. But did it come out more because you could see things and you were around it?
Yeah, I'll say it was always in me. I always knew that I wanted to write, direct, and act. Spike Lee was the example when I moved to LA. Even Tyler Perry. Around the time I moved here, he was really starting to bud as a successful, you know, filmmaker in terms of his films doing extremely well, in the box office. And so I always knew that I wanted to write, direct, produce, create my own content, and act. However, when I first moved here, it was not popular to be a multi-hyphenate. So many folks told me I needed to choose. I began to become self-conscious and saying, oh, I'm a writer, director, actor. People would look at me like I was completely unfocused, a complete just newbie to the way things work in the city. Because at that time, folks said you had to choose a path. Or people would always ask, which one do you like better? Or which one do you prefer?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, hey,
when I can not like all of them.
Yeah, or would you prefer your arms or your legs?
Yeah.
If you had a choice, you want to have both, right?
Yeah.
That's how I felt. Like, this is my full body in terms of who I am as an artist. And so there's not a choice, in terms of, I just want to be a writer, because I realize if I'm only writing and I'm not performing, I'm not fulfilling that that side of my expression. And if I'm just performing and I'm not writing, then I'm not saying, the things that I want to say. And if I'm not directing, then this vision that I have, this sight and these eyes are being put to use.
Yeah.
And so I have to use them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as just somebody new coming to this city, I feel like because of people like you, and then you go to Issa Rae and then we go to Tyler Perry's and people who are creating, acting and doing everything, it paves the way for your dream to look more realistic. And the most creative, the greatest people in the world have the most unrealistic dreams. Mm-hmm. And when they have an example like you, who could do it all, or not even do it all, but just do what their calling was, it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. How does a new person come into this city, and you know how big the city is, how does that new person come in from Florida, end up in LA, they're an actor, they have that skill, they have that passion, they have that creative gene as well. Where would they get started? Like what is their mindset supposed to be like? And then what advice would you give somebody looking to start?
Yeah, your mindset should be on the work. Focus on the work and get yourself in a place where you can do the work. And there are a myriad of different places you can do that. For me, I became a PA and I got on a set and I was working and I was learning the business of filmmaking, the mechanics of putting a motion picture together. But simultaneously, I was also writing and directing my own projects. And then I got into an acting class. And so I was always doing the work, and I wasn't focused on going out and trying to network and trying to meet people. However, I was meeting a ton of people, but I was meeting people in a workspace, in a work environment. I think the reason why you and I connect is because we met in a work environment. It's just completely different. You take people a bit more serious when you meet them in a working environment versus you're at a club or you're at a cocktail or bar and someone comes up to you and gives you their card or tells you you're an actor or a writer, and you're like, yeah, everybody's an actor or writer. But if we're on set and you're telling me you're an actor, I know you're an actor because I just saw you. I saw you perform. I saw you in front of the camera. And so the mindset should be on figuring out where can you do the work. And commit yourself to that and commit yourself to the growth of your abilities and your craft. Because at the end of the day, it has and always will be about the work. And too much or too often I witness, people come to the city and feel like it's about who you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an important part. But I guarantee if you know someone and they don't know your work, then it really does not, matter or doesn't translate.
Into a career.
Into a career, yeah. And for me, I want longevity. And I want to be at a place where my foundation is strong. And so when I begin to build upon it, I have very sturdy, ground to build this empire. But if you're trying to shoot up so quick, if you're trying to shoot up a skyscraper without building a foundation, I think it's going to come down. Right. So take your time, build a foundation, and you do that by getting on sets, you do that by getting in class, you do that by getting in workshops, you do that by doing student films, by doing web series, you know, creating your own projects and your own content where you can make mistakes and learn on your own set before you actually get in front of a casting director. You get on someone else's set and you gotta get it, you gotta perform. They're not gonna give you as many takes as you may give yourself. So yeah, that
I
would
feel
be
like
my
a lot
advice.
of people are in a battle with something or with someone that they see, either it be on their social media, their Instagram, their Twitter, their favorite actor. They're like, that should be me on TV, but they don't see the back end of what that person knows. For you, like you're one of the first people I've seen that said like I did the process of work first, and then I took acting classes. You know what I mean? Doesn't say that you couldn't act, but you just worked that acting gene in another way, and you worked your learning gene and understanding the industry gene first.
Yeah.
You know, and that might actually work out in your favor because apart from you getting context, you understand how professional you have to be on set.
Yeah.
You understand how other actors work on set.
Yeah, and I think also for me, I never just wanted to be an actor. And even to this day, I have to remind my reps that I'm not just an actor. So I'm not here to just audition. I'm here to create. I'm a creator. And all actors aren't that. You know, some actors are just looking to audition and they're looking to book. I'm looking to create opportunities not only for myself but for others. And so it was essential that I understood the business of filmmaking because I needed to be able to build a house to operate within and to feel other performers, you know, in. And so my path of really getting into the business of it was essential even to where I'm at now, because even with Giants, yeah, I created it, I wrote it, you know, I directed the first season, I'm the star of it, but I also financed it. You know, I also went out and raised funds through product placement and brand sponsorship. I also operated as a line producer. I scheduled, I did the call sheets, you know, I crewed it. I was able to do the job of a UPM. I was also putting our social strategy together because I worked as a digital producer for a network where I did that for a number of years for different television shows. And so it was essential for me to do all of those things, even though I wanted to be an actor. But because I wasn't just an actor, I had to get those other skill sets in order to build literally a giant, you know, and that's how we got into 11, you know, Emmy nominations.
Right, and
yeah.
so we know we could talk about Giant because it keeps coming up and it's, you know, Triller and everything like that, and getting into the show, and I see something that's just real. And like I told you before, like it looks like a scene that is believable, and it's telling a story that's, like you're not from LA, but it has the heart of something that's LA. And I feel like that heart of LA, it's kind of you and your story. You know, how does Giant reflect you?
Yeah, I mean, so much of Giants is me.
Where's the heart? And because I know it's a show that has a name.
Yeah.
And there's awards attached to it, which is great. But for you to do all those tasks, that means you had sleepless nights. I know for sure you had sleepless nights. You could have gone out, but you didn't. You could have said, I could hire somebody else to do this, but you didn't. You probably had a lot of meetings that people told you no, and it didn't shake you. That means you were grounded in something within Giants. There's a correlation there. And what's that passion like that would push you to be unbreakable?
You know, I just always believed that the things that were promised to me were gonna come to pass. And I knew that I had something to say. And Giants was largely about me saying what was on my heart, and it was less about giving a fuck if anyone cared. Granted, I did have this fear that what if I did all of this and no one, you know, cared, like no one watched. But I ended up watching this speech that Ava DuVernay gave at South by Southwest, where she talked about being very clear about the intention behind your attention. So like your why, like, and I had to ask myself, like, what's your why? Are you doing this for attention? Are you doing this for fame? Are you doing this for clicks and likes? And at that particular time, I said, no, the intention behind this is to create a gym and a space for myself to work out as a creative. And then also, if I was to die tomorrow, like, what did you say? Like, what did you leave? Like, would the world know that you existed? And what was your perspective on the world around you? And so Giants was a bit of my love letter, to the world. This is how I feel, not only about myself and my identity, but about the things that I've experienced. And so a lot of Giants was me bleeding on the page, and then also me sharing the stories of my friends and their struggles and saying, hey, you exist. Like, I haven't really seen a brown girl struggling with mental illness on TV. Yo, let me write that. People need to know that that exists, And so, yeah, it was just being authentic and being vulnerable and kind of pushing those fears aside. And not trying to create something that I felt Hollywood wanted.
Right.
But creating something that I felt like people needed. And prior to Giants, everything that I was making was about, yo, will this sell? Like, yo, does this fit or align with kind of what's popular, what's popping right now? You know what I mean? And then you get tired of doing bullshit. And then you get more in tune with yourself. And I was going through that process, and I was evolving just as a person. And then finally I was like, I just want to make something that speaks to me. And if it speaks to you too, cool. But it's almost like when folks, blow me up now about when is season 3 coming out. Sometimes I want to respond, I didn't make this for your entertainment. Like, honestly, it wasn't about creating something to entertain you. It was about me getting out what was inside of me, and I did that. And I'll come back when I have something else to say.
And that goes back to, I think, what you said about you want to be here for the long run.
Yeah.
And you put in a foundation down. And in the society that we're in, where we're a click away from seeing content, and majority of people's content is similar, I think the things that are going to last longer and the things that are going to leave a legacy are the things that are really authentic to us and the value that we put out to this world.
Yeah.
I feel like we all have talents within all of us. And you decided you were done with the bullshit and Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
And you wanted to make something for you that you think the world needed. And I think that's so true, because for me in my podcast, and you don't know this about me, but I think my purpose is to share and to help people grow and to give the world back. I don't think it's for me. I think it's for the world. And it was very vulnerable for me to start this up because I have to like go to classes to like when I go on auditions, and I do use my accent and do my accent and letting people know this side of me. But I feel like if people know that it's okay and you're okay you give people what they need to hear, and there's some people that need to hear it and they're ashamed to ask for it. So they will listen in their cars driving to the podcast and they'll be like, all right, this resonates with me, and you found something that the world needed. You shared your talents. You didn't take it to your grave with you.
Yeah.
At least if, God forbid, I'm knocking on wood, if you went out with something that the world could keep and say, like, James left this for us. Yeah. And I think that's how we should all live, and not if you made every blockbuster that everybody wanted, would you be remembered for that? So I think that's what we battle with, and I think it's when you overcome that insecurity of, am I ready to give the world this? Am I ready to share this with the world? I think even if 2 people, as you said, I told my friends, I was like, even if 2 people listen to my podcast, I don't care. I put it out there for the world, and I'm so surprised. Like in less than 2 weeks, it's hundreds of people across the world.
That's amazing, man. Because you're tapping into 2 secrets, and I don't even know if it's a secret, but I think 2 things that you really tapped into was it's not about you. If it's only about you, then like what's it really for? And I think that is one of the keys. Like, if you can find something and root your life in something that is just not about you and doesn't serve you only, then you're on a good path. And then secondly, it's like you having the courage to be vulnerable. And for you being vulnerable is also using your accent, in particular in America, in LA, and in this city that may be looking for one thing. But the beautiful thing about it is, like, your accent is your heritage and where you come from, and it's all of the things that make you so unique and authentic. And those are going to be the things and the qualities that will bring you to success, ultimately. It's this idea that, like, the universe can't recognize a carbon copy version of you, right? And so as long as you are imitating the thing, right? It's like, hey, I'm out here being this, and it's like the universe is trying to bring you all of the things that it has for you, but it can't even see you, it can't recognize you because you're not being what it created you to be. And I remember writing in my journal one time that I'll never be a good actor until I start to learn to stop acting in my real life. As long as I'm acting and I'm portraying a character in real life, I can't portray two characters. Like, I gotta learn to be so myself that I can even take on, another character. And so I had to do that work, myself in terms of just showing up authentic, like showing up like, yo, this is who I am. Yo, this is how I sound. Yo, this is how I talk. Even I took speech classes when I first moved here because I was from Florida. And, I had that southern drawl and everything. It's just mad lazy. I sounded super country. And if people would be like, what? Like, what are you saying? I would say, can I ask you a question? They'd be like, ask? You know what I mean? Like, everything ran together. I didn't put G's at the end of sentences, and I turned my CH's into TH's. It was just a mess, and I was really self-conscious about it. And I remember I had a boss. He's a producer who was like, you need to get into some tastemaker classes, and of course, as an actor, that's what we do. We talk. And so if I'm self-conscious about my voice, it's gonna, I'm in my head. And I already live in my head. And so I'm in a scene and I'm in my head. Am I saying this right? How does my voice sound? Do I sound monotone? Am I projecting? Am I enunciating? Like, all of those things. And then you're acting because you're trying to remember, let me remember to do this. So, I mean, for you guys who,
I've spent so much time with this lady. She's in Studio City, and I could do different accents and everything now, but it's...
Let me hear the American Darius.
You want to hear the American Darius? Darius.
From,
Darius.
Is that LA or New York?
Everyone just says Darius. Like, every blonde hair girl says, oh, hey, Darius. It's Darius is the British one. So.
Man, I like the Trinidad.
Yeah, I mean...
Give me that Trinidadian accent. Was that Trinidad or Jamaican?
Trinidadian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, when someone... it's like, if you're from the Caribbean, you could tell.
You could break down
Jamaica.
They're Jamaican.
Jamaica.
They all say this, and
okay.
Barbadian people, they sound like just like this.
Yeah.
They sound just, Rihanna sounds just like this.
Okay, that's dope.
And Nicki Minaj has a New York accent, so she's in Queens. But we have to stay true to who we are and the value we bring. I think people aren't grounded in themselves enough. It's probably an exercise for anyone coming before you even come to the big cities, the New Yorks, the LAs, the Atlantas now, or Chicago's. Before you come to those big cities, I feel like you have to know what's true to you, what's your why. You have to do a lot of self-evaluation before you jump into a class. Right? Yeah. You gotta know who you are. You have to know if this is for you, because acting might not be for you.
Yeah, and sometimes you find that in class.
Right.
You figure that stuff out
before you spend a lot of money on real headshot classes for you.
I know for me personally, like, I got in class and got beat up so much, and I would leave class in tears and wondering, is this for me? Like, I'm spending all of this money in this class, and I don't feel like I'm a natural. Right. And that's the thing that I had to learn with acting is I gotta work at it. Like, it's not something that comes very natural. Perhaps because so much of my life I spent acting, or in my real life maybe, I don't know. Or just also sometimes being a black male and feeling like you got to put on,
Right.
and you have to show up a particular way. Yeah, so it was and still is a difficult thing for me that I have to work on, but it's become a lot easier to pick up a character, and I think it's because I've gotten more comfortable in my own skin that I can now pick up a character and or feel comfortable bringing as much of myself as I want to a role. You know, because sometimes you feel like you have to lose yourself and really become a chameleon and take on all these attributes that are so opposite of you. But I'm also learning the more you can bring of yourself to that role, the better, because you know the things that make us unique are also going to be the same thing that's going to make that character unique. And it's not shying away from those things, but figuring out how do I bring that into the character while still staying true to who this character is.
It makes some characters more real too, you know.
Yeah.
Just your simple nuances or the simple habits that you might do. You might say something. It gives that character more life and more grounded, rather than I want to play this line, this character. I want to say these lines like this, and I want to go straight like this, and he should do this. But if you add James to every character or whatever, he's gonna walk like every big actor has their own swagger. I don't care who it is. Like even like Denzel has a walk.
Yes.
He has his swagger. You know.
Viola got that walk.
Viola got that walk. You know.
It might got a limp in it, but it's a walk.
It's a walk, and it's everyone has their own swagger, no matter what role they play. You know, Will Smith played that role in Suicide Squad. To me, I thought he was like the best character of them all.
Yeah.
But he had his own role, and like Samuel L. Jackson. I know they write stuff for him, but he just brings it no matter if he's in Django or whatever. He just brings him to everything, and those are the people that we remember. There's so many careers that have gone on and we don't remember because they were just like everyone else, you know? So, and I'm kind of excited to see the progression of Giants, and I can't wait to like binge watch it and just take it all in from learning this side of you now. I'm probably like I'm so like artsy now since I'm to LA. I like watch everything, and
That's good,
I want to see your nuances change from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay attention to that, and your progression is just natural. You know, the progression is natural. And I've seen me grow as an actor and how I auditioned from day one jump to just me being more calm and just a little bit more Darius.
Yeah, that's good, bro.
I bring that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Bring all of it, man.
Yeah. In terms of being nominated for Emmys, how is that like icing on the cake? Was that something you ever dreamt of before you wrote this? I'm gonna win an Emmy.
No. Yeah, when I first moved here, I think my mom was mostly on film, and so I was thinking about the Oscars.
Right, you're thinking about the Oscars.
You know, I didn't really think too much about Emmys. But also when I moved to LA, when I moved to LA in 2008,
right.
You know, television wasn't what it is, you know, right now, in the sense that the film industry has kind of moved to television. It's like a lot of TV shows now are like mini films, and a lot of film actors are now doing television. And so I didn't watch a lot of TV prior to moving to LA. And even in college, I was more of a film guy. And so my thoughts were, I want to make films. So as a result, I was thinking about the Oscars. But, you know, as times, you know, went on and evolved, and these really incredible shows started coming out, I really got more into episodic storytelling. And so to be nominated for 11, you know, Emmys, it was, you know, one of those things where I hadn't planned this.
Right.
And it was like, oh, cool, wow, like I'm here. Now that I'm here, like, I want to bring them home.
Right.
But nah, it wasn't something that I had like planned. In terms of, it wasn't like a lifelong dream, but it was definitely something that we had strategized over as far as, you know, last year, because we got nominated for 2 last
Right.
year. And then I was like, okay.
Lead actor.
And that was for lead actor and actress. And so going into season 2, I was like, okay, I'm trying to rack up next year. And so we
So now you have a new goal.
Now I don't. Like,
Right.
because I don't have a new season out yet.
You know what I mean? Like after you finish season 1.
Oh,
now
yeah.
Now you on a mission.
So here's the thing. When we finished season 1, when we got nominated, we were already putting our season 2 out because they do it by calendar year.
Yeah.
And so we got nominated in April or March of last year, and we started putting season 2 out in February. And so the nomination was for season 1 that came out the year before.
Right.
And so it's by a calendar year with the daytime Emmys. And so we were already working on season 2, putting season 2 out when we got our season 1 nominations. And so I was like, okay, I see a little bit more how this works. Season 2, and I knew we had elevated the show, you know, so much. I was like, let's go in and let's fuck them up.
How did it feel like at first to hear? I bet before they surprised you with a letter saying, "Oh, you got nominated."
Yeah,
It
you
was
find out
buzz.
online. They actually read the, you get pre-nominated. So we had a ton of pre-nominations, and then they announced the nominations on the talk.
Right.
Yeah, so they come out, but you also know the day the nominations are coming out, and so you're kind of prepared and you're ready.
And so you got nominated. You're heading towards the show. They let everyone. Does the whole cast get to come to the show, or everyone has to buy their tickets?
All the nominees, and so if you're nominated, you come, and if you're not, you got to buy a ticket, and the Emmys are pretty expensive.
All right. But you and your cast, or whoever was there with you, you're there.
But we had 15 nominees, so it was a lot of us in the building.
Wow, yeah. You have a whole squad. You're deep.
We were
Giants
deep,
deep. All right,
and fly.
you guys are there at the Emmys, and you're on. Do you know what to do? Did someone like prep you? Like, all right,
Yeah, well,
you're gonna come this.
Well, Vanessa and I had done the Emmys the year prior, and so we were fully prepared, and we kind of prepared the entire team. But yeah, you know, we had a publicist, and so, you know,
They tell you
show
what to
up
do.
and, you know, do the red carpet and where you're gonna seat. And Vanessa presented Friday, I presented at the Sunday show, but we
Yeah, I
had
saw
both
that.
did it last year, so we were pretty prepared.
When you got out on stage to
Present?
in the first year, what was
Oh
that?
man, that was wild. That was surreal. That was I'm on the Emmy stage, and you're like looking out at the entire audience. The thought that I had was, man, I used to see this on TV.
Right.
You know, now I'm actually seeing this with my eyes. Wow. Yeah, it was great.
Wow. And then so this year it was a little bit more common, I bet.
It's a little bit more calming. However, we had more nominations, and this year I was presenting. So when I presented last year, we weren't nominated for an award on Sunday. I was just a presenter. This year I was presenting, and I had to go immediately back to my seat because we were up for Outstanding Digital Drama Series that we didn't win. So it was still that nerve and unsettled kind of tension was still there because, you know, we were waiting to see if we were going to bring home the gold, you know?
Yeah, you brought home the gold, bro. Because you brought home the gold for every single person who right now is in a coffee shop, is in somewhere, and they think that a black guy could just like write his thing, get it funded, work hard to get it funded, direct it, and just be rewarded for it. You know, like that dream is alive, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had that growing up, but for me, like as a kid, like I never saw anything like that. And I was in Trinidad, mind you, I was in Trinidad, but I did watch a lot of TV. You know, I did watch a lot of TV, and I was a TV buff from since I was a kid, so I was like on that. But I never saw that. You know, all I saw was just like one or two, like, you know, Will Smith, the you know, Martin and Wayans brothers, that kind of stuff, Jamie Foxx. Everybody else was just more like, you never saw like black guys in serious roles. Or you had that leader take note from. And for me, I never thought I would even be in LA because, or getting paid to act or anything like that. I didn't think that I would have that space as a kid. And as I saw it more and more, it made it more real for me.
Yeah.
And I bet people are going to see that in you.
I hope so.
Because you did it, man, and you put your word out there. So
Thank you.
I think that's legendary. I don't even think that's like you left your legacy, you know, on that, and you're taking it to higher levels now. And I know you had a 10-year career in LA, a 10-year move in LA. I don't know if you could reach or feel that one time that you wanted to give up. That you wanted to, it was the darkest time, and you were questioning if I should be in LA, if I should go back home to Florida, if I should get a job as a casting director, get a job in an office. If you could feel that, because this podcast is called Becoming an Actor 1,000 Failures. And in my eyes, I feel that we have to fail 1,000 times in order to make it, whether it takes 10 years or it takes 5 years or 15 years. We have to fail, and we have to feel that point where we have to make that decision, and I don't know if, I know as actors we feel things settle in our stomach, and I can feel it. I don't know if you feel it right now. If you feel that, and what made you decide not to go?
Man, it's interesting. That moment came for me very early, within my first 6 months of living here, and it was the impetus for Giants, the series. I was robbed at gunpoint. I had just moved here. Granted, I had landed an internship that ended, and so I had to go get a job at the mall. I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch as a college graduate with no car, walking, in LA before Uber and Lyft existed, and my apartment, my sublet was ending, and I was looking for a new place to stay. I was taking the bus back and forth to a friend's house and sleeping on his couch, and really didn't have any money. At the time, didn't have much of a support system here, and walking home, and two guys walked up to me with a gun and said, "Give us your shit." And I was kind of at the end of my rope, my wits end. I was just so stressed and tired, and I was like, nah. We ended up getting into an altercation that resulted in them shooting me in the face. It was a BB gun that they robbed me with. And then I had to go to the emergency room, and it was this whole thing. I didn't have health insurance, had to file a police report. And a lot of friends were like, yo, just come back home, Big city, crazy stuff is happening. You don't have a car, you don't have a job, just come back home. And I feel like that was like my dark moment. And I had a conversation with my mom, and my mom said when she heard the story, when I told her the story, because she was the first person I called, she was really calm. And I told her I got robbed at gunpoint, and I got shot, and da-da-da-da. She was really calm. And she was like, the first thing I thought about was David in the Bible, and how it was David's job to watch his father's sheep, and a lion and a bear came and tried to take the sheep. And David fought and killed a lion and a bear. And my mom's response to my situation was, sometimes you gotta fight for your stuff. And you still have to slay the giant. And so the things that you're going through right now are necessary, because if David hadn't fought the lion, and if he hadn't killed the bear, he would not have had the courage to face, the giant. And even when he met Goliath, and he stood, face to face with him, he said, the same God that delivered me from the mouth of the lion and the mouth of the bear would be the same God that would deliver me from the hand of the giant. And so I took that and I buried it in my heart and in my soul. And that was a bit of my courage to stay and say, you know what? I still got giants to fight. And I'm not going to turn around. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to stay, in the city, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to make it happen. And that's what I did. I can't tell you there was another time that I wanted to quit. There was a lot of times where there was some jobs that I quit. I can tell you that. Working at, a studio and realizing this ain't it. This ain't where I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm not supposed to be bringing somebody coffee. Like, I've done it, yes, and it's not beneath me in the sense of I can't do it for a time and a season, but I also know when a season has passed and it's time for me to move on. And so, yeah, that was my one and only moment when I considered, turning around. Right. I have not had another moment since, but it was because I got very clear after that moment that it's going to be some bumps, it's going to be some valleys, it's going to be some hardships. I've been broke up until, Giants cost me literally everything. Like, I was to the point, bro, I was so determined to finish the show and was pulling so much out of my pocket, and I left a job to do it where I just didn't have food. Like, one of my producers would literally come to my house and open the fridge and be like, bro, you ain't got no food in here. I'd be like, yeah, I ain't got no food. And he would go to the grocery store, and buy food. Yeah, so I was that determined, to make it happen. And so there were dark moments, but I wasn't quitting.
Right. It's for you, man.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
James Brand.
Mm-hmm.
All right, dope.
Cool.
Sick.
Man, what an inspirational story. That podcast, honestly, was one of the coolest things I ever done in my life, and it was a dream come true for me. To sit across from James and just hear his story and see the passion he has, and to literally just watch a guy who left his legacy on this earth. And no matter what happens from here on now, James has this for the rest of his life. Those are his Super Bowl rings, Wow. James has definitely left his legacy for the world, for all the young kids out there, and on myself. James has definitely impacted all of us. So thank you, James. You've done a lot, man, at this young age. And if you liked this interview between James and I, it's on YouTube, and you could see a more edited version, and you get to meet a little bit more of James. The podcast looks really good on YouTube. I have like 3 angles, so it looks cool, so don't worry, it's not going to be boring. It's just very inspirational, and if you could share this with your friends who are actors or artists and entrepreneurs and people you think should hear this story and need to hear this story, please share it with everyone. My podcast has been climbing the charts, so if you could just rate it or review it for me, let me know what you think. The support from everyone has been tremendous, so thank you. And if you're on Instagram, just tag me at 1000 failures. I'll reshare it and give you some advice. So thank you. That was episode 5. Next week, Wednesday, I have Felix Martinson coming on board. He's a casting director, and he's going to give some secrets of the industry of what a casting director does, what they look for, the do's and the don'ts. And he's going to let some secrets out the bag. So stay tuned next week. If you're an actor, if your friend's an actor, let them know. This one should be very informative, and this one should help you out in LA and New York or whichever city you're in and you want to get casted. This is a very informative one. And that was the end of episode 5. Thank you.